Hello and welcome back to RIFC Nation. I'm your host, Matt, and we're going to be doing a match preview today as the Charleston Battery travel to Rhode Island to take on RIFC in our fourth match of the season. I'm joined by Mike from the Regiment, the Charleston Battery supporters group today. Mike, how's it going?
Going well. Beautiful weather down here. It's about 68 degrees and sun shining.
Awesome. So I like to do these. Like I gotta get a good name for this section, maybe like the opposition corner, the opponent's corner, or something like that. Because we get some good connections with fans. We're new to the league, so we want to learn about the our opponents and all the clubs. So thank you for taking the time out and then joining me for this one.
Not a problem.
If you are watching this for the first time and you're an RIFC supporter, if you have not already checked out the Club Collector app, go do so and enter that code RIFC Nation to get a free pack to help you get started. So to get started on this one, Mike, the Battery are currently sitting in third on 8 points. Drew your first two matches, 0-0 versus North Carolina, 1-1 versus Oakland, a 4-0 thumping of New Mexico United, and a most recently 2-1 win over Miami. How has the start of the season been for you guys?
I feel like it's going really well. A lot of promise, especially coming off of runners up last year in the championship game. A lot of that's due to Coach Pierman. He's really got a way of like finding a way to make things happen. Kind of expected the first game. It's still early season, still trying to figure things out. Wasn't too disappointed with the 0-0, except for we had a majority of the play and shots. And same thing with the second match in Oakland. Kind of felt like it got away from us there at the end. I think New Mexico was the match that kind of was like, yeah, this is what we can be. And then down in Miami, they got us on one quick little breakaway, but overall, I thought we managed that game pretty well as well.
Nice. One thing I didn't even ask you before we were talking before we went live on air here. I'm a big fan of the Scottish game, and I'm a Hibs supporter. And I know you guys have some kind of connection. What exactly is that like?
Well, so the previous owner of Hibs, he passed away, I think, was
Ron
it
Gordon.
last year? Say again?
Ron Gordon.
Yeah. So he was, from what I've been told, he was actually looking at buying the Charleston Battery before he got involved in Hibs. And when he decided to go with Hibs, the current owner, Rob Salvador, and him had talked about some things and just kind of like, they had that mutual sort of connection there. And it ended up becoming more of a formal connection agreement. We had a player come over and play with us till about the middle of the summer, and then he went back over to Hibs. But unfortunately, I think with the passing of Rob, it's kind of haven't really heard much more about it since then.
Got it.
There were some pretty cool split scarves made at one point.
Yeah, I
So
did see those.
yeah.
So you talked about those first four matches. And having watched this team so far this season, what would you say the biggest strengths are of the squad?
Biggest strengths probably our versatility. I've seen them line up with three in the back, four in the back, two up top, one up top with two wingers. Um, it's kind of I guess kind of like a mystery of how they're gonna play from week to week, and I kind of trust in Ben, coach there to make the right decisions. So yeah, I think we've had five different scorers, and our defense, and we've rotated everybody quite a bit, and so yeah, I think our strengths, that versatility there, we can kind of come out and attack from different places and score from different places, and we've been fairly solid defensively, so it's looking good.
So there's some balance there within the squad.
Yeah.
Where do a majority of the goals come from? Are they mostly from? Is it off a press? Is it off wing play? Is it more direct?
Yeah, that's again, it's only a few games in, but um, on our match against New Mexico, Aaron Malloy scored one off of a free kick. We've had a couple off of corners, a couple headers, a couple lasers from outside the box, a couple rebounds that we've tapped in, and so it's kind of come from everywhere.
No. All right. So, what would you say are some of the, or maybe like the biggest weakness or area that Rhode Island FC could exploit Charleston in?
Um, let's see. Do I really want to say? No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I mean, for me, I think our biggest weaknesses are our depth of squad. We only have 19 people on the roster. So I'm a little nervous about injuries and stuff like that starting to rack up. Um, and with that, Ben's really good about managing players' time. But with that kind of comes like an unfamiliarity with the other player, especially if they're kind of used to playing with a different center back pairing, for example, or something. But um, yeah, I think that's probably, like I said, our biggest weakness is just kind of like changing up systems so much. It might, there's opportunity, there's uh, the chance for the mistakes to be made. Somebody forgetting where they're at or something. And I feel like that's kind of what happened with our goal that was scored against us against Miami. Somebody lost where they were supposed to be or didn't track back right and cover somebody else, and they slipped in and rounded our keeper and scored a goal.
Sure. I would say for us the biggest issue our fans are kind of talking about is the lack of a midfield presence right now. We are physical as heck, and that is mostly along the flanks and up top with Chico battling for balls. So how has Chico gotten on versus the Battery in the past few seasons? Has he nicked you guys for a couple goals?
Um, yeah, I'm trying to remember him standing out at any point. I mean, obviously there's a couple guys that the players we super familiar with there. Um, but yeah, I think, I mean, you talk about physicality. Yeah, the Battery's pretty physical. We got a high press. They're not afraid to get in there and get stuck in, but um, I think it'll be an interesting match. Hopefully the ref's up for it and lets it flow a little bit. But I could see it being a kind of getting a little chippy there toward the end or something. But just because, like you said, you guys play pretty physical, we play fairly physical, so um, it could be one of those games with a lot of fouls and a couple cards, and who knows
Right.
where it goes from there.
Especially with the lovely standard of officiating that we see week
Yeah,
in, week out in the USL
yeah,
Championship. Talk
yeah,
a little bit about the supporter culture in Charleston, and I know you guys have a few different groups down there, and you're the president of the regiment. I think you have been for a while.
yeah.
How'd you get into that? How'd you guys get started, and what's the supporters group like?
Oh wow. Well, I've been a Battery fan since the late '90s. First, kind of came across them. I was living in England in the mid '90s, and while I was living over there, it was the U.S. had just hosted the World Cup. A lot of the players had come over to England. I was going to watch a lot of those players play at the various the various stadiums they were at. Um, After that, uh, I'm from South Carolina's, so Charleston. They ended up beating DC United in a U.S. Open Cup match back in like '96, and that kind of opened up, like, oh, there's this whole other level there after MLS. That's where I kind of latched on, and the Battery were pretty much on the forefront there. They were, all their games were, you could listen to them on the internet, at the time, and which was quite a while ago. But yeah, and then for me, I moved back to Charleston in 2001, and the regiment had started in 1999. The Battery at the time had just opened a new stadium. Contrary to what Columbus thinks, it was the first privately funded professional soccer specific stadium in the U.S. So in the modern era, anyhow. But yeah, so and a couple guys were like, "Hey, we need a supporters group." They got more organized, and kind of went from there. And then over the years, I just kind of got involved in that. Um, and so yeah, so then I guess I took over the presidency probably about, I don't know, 8 years after that. So I've been kind of the president for a long time. But yeah, our official membership's around 100, 150 each year, and it kind of ebbs and flows depending on how the season's going and all. But
Sure.
we've got some people that have been there long enough to where like now their grandkids are coming to the games and stuff. So it's we always talk about you're part of the family, but it truly is family. And over the years, you get to know guys pretty well. You get to know their families, and you celebrate their wins, and you mourn with them with losses and stuff as well. Um, we got another supporters group that started up last season called the Bar of Charleston. It's Latino based. They got the drums. They're great with the drum line and everything. And they've really been bringing a lot of atmosphere to the matches. They're a bunch of great guys. We hang out together before the matches, tailgate, all that kind of stuff. We sit on one side of the state, one behind one goal. They sit behind another goal during the matches. But before the games, we're together. After the games, we're together. When we travel, we're together. So it's been really good the last couple of years. The atmosphere there at the stadium and the supporters groups just keep, it helps when you're doing well to keep growing. So.
Right. That's cool. That's cool to bring that environment and have it on both ends of the stadium is pretty cool. We're located at one at our temporary home, so that could be cool to see how something like that could progress into our club in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess my next question, kind of with supporter culture, how do the Charleston Battery fans travel? Will we see some black and yellow in Rhode Island on tomorrow?
Oh yeah, there's a few folks going up there. Like I said, the Battery's been around for more than 30 years now. There's a lot of fans that have moved from Charleston, and there's I know there's at least 4 that are going up. One of them lives in Boston now, and the other 2 live in the DC Baltimore area or Northern Virginia, and then one of them's actually out in Seattle, and they get together a couple times a year to come to match at Battery, or they'll be up there. But this is they're all flying up, going out there to the match tomorrow. So I'm sure you'll see them. 2 of them used to be capos here, so they're loud and they'll I'm sure make themselves known. So
Cool. We would definitely welcome that, and then looking forward to it. Before we sign off on this one, it's time to put us both on record and go with the score predictions. So, as my guest, I'll give you the honor and let you go first. How do you see this one shaking out?
Yeah. So this is where it gets a little dicey for me, because typically I think we play a little more conservative on the road. I'm not expecting a 4-0 blowout or a 4-1 like you guys had against Tampa last week, but I'll probably go with a 2-1 win. I'm going to call goal from Nick Mechanic. And then, I don't know, I'm going to give one to Juan David Torres. He's hit the post like 3 times, and a couple of those ended up in our tap-in. So he's due a goal. And I'll say Dequa's going to get one against us. So.
All right. We do a prediction league on our supporters group Discord, and I was the first one in the chat to predict a loss. I actually predicted it versus Monterey Bay. Just figured that cross country trip would be tough. I'm gonna predict another loss this one. I hate doing it. I like the way that you guys are playing. Like you said, I think it'll be a close one. I actually had 2-1 in my head as well. I got Dequa scoring for us as well. I'd like to see Noah Fuzon get on the goal sheet. He's been playing great. He's threaded some great balls in. He's hit a few posts. Clay Holstad's hit a few posts. But if our midfield can emerge and battle, I think 2-1, 2-2 is totally like in the cards. But we just got to get that formation right. And we're playing this lopsided formation right now, and it's been really hit or miss. And it was definitely missing that second half in Tampa. So hopefully Coach Kano gets that one straightened out, and we can actually see a pretty good game. But I'm gonna go 2-1 to the Battery. I know I'm gonna get some grief for it. I figured I'd wait to say it on here before I put it in the prediction league on the Discord server. So if I know we got one viewer on here live, so if you're watching, I'll be in that Discord to bring it down next, and I'm sure I'll get some shit talked to me a little bit after on this one. But Yeah, Mike, thanks for joining. Thanks for taking the time out. I know people appreciate kind of learning about some of these clubs and what it's like. And hopefully, when we do the return leg, we can connect again and you can talk a little bit more about the home atmosphere that you guys have, like that you mentioned in this one. And we can do a preview based on current form again.
Yeah, and if anybody can make it down to the match, let us know. We host a pretty good tailgate out before the matches. Usually have a couple hundred people out there, 100 some people out there for the tailgates. And if anybody's got questions about the area, it's a great area to come visit. And lots to do, lots to see. If you're into food and beer, it's definitely a good place to be. So, and we got a beach too. So there you go.
There you go. Charleston's been on my list for a while, so I'm hoping to get out there. If not this season, then maybe next season, as food and
Yeah,
bear are my definite fortes. So we can definitely
yeah.
get in touch and link up. But
Oh, for
thanks.
sure. And again, if anybody's coming down, you can send them to, one of the regiment social medias. I usually handle all those accounts, and if they DM me there or something, I can give them some recommendations or whatever they're looking for.
Awesome. Appreciate it. Thanks again for joining. Just a reminder, if you're watching or listening to this on podcast, you can click the link in this episode description to find all of RIFC Nation across all the different social media platforms. You can listen to it on any podcast platform and always on YouTube. So that'll wrap things up for this time. We've just previewed the RIFC versus Charleston match, and I'll be back probably Sunday to do my post-match thoughts and match recap, highlighting all the action. So thanks again, Mike. Thanks for all of you who tuned in and watched. Remember to click that like, click that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on RIFC Nation.